on today we have Ollie Newton back again with his Altergeist strategy that he has been piloting for what feels like an absolute age right now. So he brings on this list which he used to make Top Cut at the Sneak Attack Regional that took place in London. Now this event did take place pre-ban list, but to be honest, this is Altergeist. You don't really need to change anything in the deck in order to adapt it for the current format. It just depends on what you expect to face, and given the decks that we know are pretty popular, you could basically leave this deck as it is and carry it through into the new format. So let's take a quick look at what the list entails then. It's got the usual lineup of all the Altergeist monsters that we've come to know and love, the usual 10. For hand traps, we've got double DD Crow, triple Ash, and there are also 3 copies of Impermanence in here. So just the 8 hand traps there. For the draw spells, dualities, and pots of extravagance. For the interruption cards, we have triple Super Poly, triple Judgment, 1 warning, triple strike, 1 order, the usual Altergeist lineup including the personal spoofings as well. For the extra deck, this is pretty interesting actually, so triple Hextia, double Linkuriboh, and no other cards here that allow you to trigger off your Meliseek, which is pretty interesting because we've seen recently a lot of the Altergeist list tend to run 4 or even 6 copies of cards that can be used to trigger off the Meliseek. Instead, because he's had to put in the fusion targets for the Super Polys and he needs those to always be live, he's had to cut down on the extra deck space quite significantly, and then he's just opted for things that he always wants to be able to see. So we have 2 Nightmare Phoenix here as well, 1 Ningizio and 1 Borsal to out the problems, and then the Super Poly targets being Starving Venom Fusion, Dragostopelia, and the double Violet Chimera. Now moving into the upcoming format, we do expect to still see things like Orca, Salamangrate, even Pendulum Magician, and Thunder Dragons all being very popular choices, so these are still very, very good targets for this format. For the side deck, we have double Pancratops, triple Dimension Shifter, triple Secret Village, double Dusters, double Summon Limit, and triple Evenly. I don't think there's an awful lot to say here. You get to floodgate people with the Secret Village, you've got tons of traps to trigger your Multi-Faker, Pancratops is a huge advantage card. Pretty interestingly, there's the Dimension Shifter actually, I suppose. After you get your setup from this deck, you shouldn't really have to worry too much about your stuff being banished from the graveyard. Mostly your opponent's going to try and interact with you in ways that don't put your stuff in the graveyard anyway, or at least that will be their intention as they establish their board, because they don't want to trigger off your effects. So you can just get yourself into a position where it doesn't matter if you banish stuff. Like if you banish any of your non-Altergeist traps, it doesn't make any difference whatsoever, and the same thing for your Super Polys. So yeah, I don't think it's a real problem having Dimension Shifter within this side deck. I think it performs a job very, very well. So for the rounds that he played, it was a 7-round event. Round 1, he went up against a 60-card Shaddoll for higher Orcust Danger List and went 2-1. Round 2 against Lunalight Orcust, this was his only loss from the event where he went 1-2. Round 3 against True Draco, he went 2-0. Round 4 against Lunalight Orcust, 2-1. Round 5 against Salamangrate, 2-1. Round 6 against BA Orcust, 2-0. And round 7 against Endymion Pendulum, he went 2-0. So I think for me the sort of main takeaways from here, typically the True Draco matchup can be a bit tough because of the likes of Inspector Border, but he managed to win this one 2-0 anyway, so I guess the Dimension Shifters definitely help out with that kind of matchup. I think just the fact that they have to generate advantage by putting stuff in the graveyard, and you can just get ahead by using that too. And the Evenlys, obviously, that kind of deck, you know, it might even choose to go second, and you can just capitalize off that position there anyway. And then the loss to the Lunalight Orcust, the deck just has so much combo ability and can play through so many boards. Plus it can side stuff that takes out your own deck anyway. Things like Red Reboot, Twisters, all sorts of back row hate can just come into the side deck, and you can put up so many monsters that you can generally play through most trap deck boards. So it's not a huge surprise that you lost that one 1-2. Potentially losing the die roll as well would just lose you that matchup. So then I asked him several different questions. So he said that the event was great overall. We see the Phantasmates have been dropped from the list. They've been a pretty popular choice from him for the last few months. He's decided to drop them because he thinks that the space in the main deck is just way too tight at this point. Then only playing 8 hand traps, He said it was generally enough in the main deck because he had the super polys as well, which allows you to break the stronger boards, so he didn't have to worry too much about that anyway. As for Dimension Shifter, he said it worked out very well, and it wasn't really a huge issue. Changes that he would make to the deck, he's not going to say anything with YCS London approaching, so we'll just have to see how things change as we see him moving into that event, and hopefully he'll make another top cut spot, and we'll get a glimpse at how the deck has been changed with the ban list changing there as well. He didn't have a set siding strategy moving into this event, so there's not really anything to say about that. And the shoutouts that he wants to make will go to Ultra Pro and Team Sneak Attack. So thanks very much for coming on, Ollie, and sharing your list once again. Great to see that you're still having success with this Altergeist strategy. And seeing as it hasn't been hit by the list whatsoever, perhaps we'll be seeing this progress even further as we move into the remainder of the year. What do you guys think about this list? Are there any changes that you would make? Are you planning on playing Altergeist in the upcoming format? Let me know in the comments section, and I'll see you guys in the next video.